This video is made to demonstrate how to accurately make a duplication of a denture or bridge using the Annex Dent Flask. When making a hybrid bridge in zirconia or other material, a prototype bridge is customarily made first. Once the prototype bridge has been worn by the patient for a period of time and adjustments have been made, it becomes necessary to send that bridge to the dental laboratory for scanning and milling by CAD/CAM process. It's often impractical for the patient to be without the prototype bridge while it's being processed at the laboratory. An alternate solution is for the bridge to be duplicated in the dental office and the duplication sent to the laboratory for processing. The duplication process demonstrated here is quick and easy and extremely accurate. Everything you need for duplication is shown here. The duplicating flask from Annex Dent comes with a black metal base and 2 polycarbonate sections. You'll need a 2-part silicone putty. Any brand or shore hardness will work. Here I show Matrix Form 60 from Annex Dent. You'll need a silicone release agent. Here a small bottle of liquid release agent from Zermac is shown. However, a thin coat of Vaseline will also work well. A 2-part pourable silicone is what we'll actually use to make the mold. I prefer the Elite Double 22 from Zermac because it has good working time and it sets completely in 10 minutes. Have on hand a couple of 8-ounce plastic or paper cups to do your mixing in. The first thing you'll need to do is prepare the bridge for mounting it in the flask. In order to keep silicone from flowing into the abutments, use a waxing instrument to carefully block out just the screw hole in the interface of the abutments. It's very important that the abutment interface be very precisely reproduced. Don't allow wax on the abutment interface. Just put your wax in the screw hole only. Then in a similar way, cover the screw access holes on the occlusal side of the bridge. Now take your flask and separate all the parts. Apply a thin coat of Vaseline to all the mating surfaces of the black base. Then apply a thin coat of Vaseline to the internal surfaces of the clear parts. Form a small amount of silicone putty into a roll and then place the roll on the occlusal surfaces of the bridge and then place the bridge and the roll on the black base. Before the putty cures, check to see that the intaglio surface of the bridge is more or less even with the top of the first section of the flask. Now take a length of 5 mm diameter wire wax and lute it to one end of the bridge. Now, after positioning the second half of the clear flask, cut off the wire wax about 3/8 of an inch above the flask. Then lute another length of 5 mm diameter wire wax to the other end of the bridge. The wire wax will later function as injection ports. Check to see that the top half of the flask fits over the wax wire. Now, with the top half of the flask removed, you're ready to pour your first half of your silicone mold. Now, at a ratio of 1:1, mix up your pourable 2-part silicone mold material and begin to slowly pour it into your mold. You should have plenty of working time, so pour slowly and avoid bubbles. The goal now is to fill the flask to the point that the intaglio surface of the bridge, along with the interfaces, is completely exposed. Now wait 10 minutes for the material to completely cure. In this case, I inadvertently overfilled the mold by a little bit, such that the intaglio surface of the bridge is slightly covered in a couple of areas. So I'm taking a hot knife to cut back those areas so that the intaglio surface of the bridge is again totally exposed. The next step is absolutely critical. Since silicone adheres to silicone, we must put a barrier of some sort on the first pour in our mold. Here I'm painting on a generous coating of a liquid barrier material from Zermac. However, a thin coating of Vaseline would also work well. The important thing is to be sure to cover all the surface of the first half of our silicone mold. After 3 or 4 minutes, the barrier separator material will be dry, and you can place the top half of your flask and mix up some more pourable 2-part silicone material and begin to pour it in the top half of your flask to complete the mold. Here again, pour slowly in order to avoid trapping bubbles. It's important not to overfill the flask at this point. Just filling up the silicone till you can tell that it comes in contact with the underside of the plastic flask is ideal. After 10 minutes, the silicone mold will be completely cured. You can then use the separating tool to begin to separate the sections of your flask and remove the mold from the flask. The key here is to go slow and apply firm, even pressure, giving the surfaces time to release from each other. You can simply push out the lengths of wire wax, which will become our injection ports. In similar fashion, push out the other section of the mold and recover your bridge. Now the bridge can be cleaned up and reinstalled in the patient's mouth. All you have to send to the laboratory is the 2-part silicone mold. Assuming the lab has the same annex dent clear flask, they'll be able to place your mold back into their flask and make a perfect replica of the hybrid bridge. With this, they'll have everything they need to perfectly clone the prototype bridge into a zirconia bridge. This is a case that was done utilizing the technique just demonstrated. Delivery of this zirconia bridge required absolutely no adjustments. The delivery appointment took no more than 20 minutes.
I've never seen bridge work look this good. Yeah. My sister had, who has passed, she had dentures and she swore she would never do it again. Yeah. She said it was the worst mistake of her life and she hated them. Mm-hmm. And her dentures did not look like this. Oh, so thank you. No, I'm amazed. It looks wonderful. It was well worth the investment, and I would do it all over again if I had to. It's a totally big deal. It is amazing. Oh my gosh, thank you. You guys are all amazing. Thank you. Wait, we need some too.